let's cut all the pleasantries. You read the title. We got 3 male-on-male shonen anime pairings people frequently ship together. We aren't going to debate the validity, plausibility, or quality of these pairings. That's not what we're here for. For the purposes of our research, they're getting together. That leads us to the way more interesting questions. If they were to get together, how would that work? How long would the relationship last? When would they move in with each other? Are they toxic? Are they healthy? Do they go to therapy? Do they both have jobs? Who's a breadwinner? Who's a stay-at-home mom? Who takes the kids to school? It's a lot of questions that just aren't being answered for me right now. And that's what I really think about whenever I see these pairings. Because, if you're around the community enough, you've inevitably seen people ship these men together. And your reactions might go anywhere from very pleased to very disgusted. I'm not here to argue about that right now. I mean, feel free to have shipping wars in the comments. It really helps the engagement. But I'm here because the question of how the hell would they end up afterwards is really interesting to me. Would some of these anime boys be barbecuing at pride parades together 20 years later? Or would they get so toxic that they scare the homosexuality out of each other right into a marriage with a woman they'll never love? The answer is probably out there somewhere, honestly, but after learning what the Omegaverse is on accident on AO3, I don't think I have the stones to find that answer for myself. So instead, I answer this question in a what if video, not a fan fiction. A what if. It's 2 completely different things. It's not a fan fiction, it's a what if.
Just what in the hell do you want from me?
Put it long.
Alright, so Naruto and Sasuke. If you haven't been living under a rock, you know about these two. And if you watch the show after you learned what gay people are, there's a good chance you might have figured out why there's a lot of fan art about it. I mean, hold on. Just look at these few screenshots. Like I don't got any for Sasuke right now, but Naruto was fucked up in the bed, crying out Sasuke's name, wondering what he's doing. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions, but that, at the very minimum, is something you should say pause after. And spoilers for Naruto if you somehow haven't watched that, but the ending of their final fight is a 1-to-1 recreation. Well, not 1-to-1, but it's a recreation of gay fanfiction between the two. There's something there. But we're not here to theorize on whether it does happen. We're assuming it happens. What happens after they do get married? And right off the bat, I'm gonna say they get married. That honeymoon phase lasts good and well, into a year or 2. They get married. But first question, does a Hidden Leaf village accept gay people? Now, honestly, I think they would be accepting. Only because they let Orochimaru around, and not only is he a super war criminal, but he's also very clearly LGBT. But if they let Mr. Necromancer Mass Genocider walk around with the Pride Parade, I don't see why the heroes of the village can't get married to each other. Now, I do see certain characters not being entirely on it with them, like Shikamaru. That's my goat. That is my GOAT. He's my favorite character. But he has employed misogyny in the past, and I cannot put it past him to have just a little bit of the passive homophobia. Not active, but he would definitely be side-eyeing Naruto and Sasuke, being like, oh, I didn't know they'd do that. But for the most part, the Hidden Leaf is generally accepting, especially of their heroes. Now, as to how their marriage works out. With both of these characters being known deadbeats, how does their relationship end up staying around? Because Naruto will eventually have his Hokage duties, and Sasuke will have his, voluntary hobo duties. But, I'll just say they both seem pretty chill with their wives in Universe 1, and with the rapid technology advancement seen in Boruto, they probably still have a decent relationship and contact each other regularly. But this raises the number one question. If they're both men, how does Boruto happen? Now, there are 2 distinct possibilities I've worked out that I think will work. And it might be a little gross for you guys, but as an investigative journalist, I feel like I have to get this out there. Number 1, Orochimaru is still there. They just call him up, he gets some samples, and he just makes them babies in a lab, test tube ninjas. But there's a second option. This is deep and forbidden. But Naruto has been perfecting and training a jutsu since he was a genin. It has actually helped him on multiple occasions. So, with enough mastery, we can assume that he can use it for his own ends in this purpose as well. I will not be elaborating, I will not be saying this out loud, but you know what I'm implying. But the Boruto kids now existing raises yet another question. Who the hell is raising these kids? As previously stated, both Naruto and Sasuke are known deadbeats. And you know, responsible parents, knowing that they wouldn't be around the house much, probably wouldn't have kids while they're still busy. But Naruto and Sasuke, both in Universe 1, decided, I'm gonna have kids anyway. So I don't think that's gonna stop them here. I think that at bare minimum, there will be a lot more Shadow Clone Jutsu moments and a lot less, you know, in-person moments. And Sasuke would probably be going around doing his old bullshit. Naruto would be doing Hokage shit. The kids don't really got much time for themselves. So hilariously enough, both Boruto and Sarada independently still basically go down their same arcs of parental abandonment that they do in the original series. And I don't know what really changes besides Boruto and Sarada having a different power set, and I guess Himawari is somewhere else. It might be the same right down to Boruto seeing Sasuke and being like, yeah, you're the dad I like more, I'm gonna train on you. Like, it might genuinely be the same shit! And of course, Naruto and Sasuke, they still have their everlasting feelings for each other, so happy marriage, nothing really changes also.
Filthy monkey who can't even use jujutsu. Disinfecting deodorant. I don't want everyone to breathe in the monkey smell.
Now, the new couple on the block, Satoru Gojo and Suguru Geto. What Sasuke and Naruto was to the last generation, Gojo and Geto are to this generation. But it's not exactly a one-to-one. Sasuke and Naruto, when you put them in a different context, think more of the before part of the relationship. Gojo and Geto more so think of the after, of the messiest breakup you've ever seen in your life. Okay, so if you've seen the Hidden Inventory arc, which if you haven't, spoilers, but basically their whole conflict with Rika explains everything, because if you've seen that, that's basically Gojo and Geto adopting a girl and being the two fathers to this one girl. And she's fated to die, and guess what? She dies. And you know what? Neither of them handle the death of their child all that well, but their self-destructive mindsets go in polar opposite ways. Gojo decides to attach himself to everyone he loves and thinks, I'm never gonna let anyone die again. Geto decides to detach himself from everything he loves and thinks, I'm gonna make everyone die once and for all. Naturally, these two ideas kind of conflict, and then they have the whole sworn enemies, JJK0 happens, then the main plot happens, everything like that. But what we see here is a microcosm of how exactly this relationship could go catastrophically wrong. Because as you can see here, they have the opposite responses to adversity and conflict. Gojo is a type to get clingy, try to talk it out, get closer, like all that shit. And Geto, he wants to space out, be left alone. He doesn't want to be talked to when he's going through something. And those two things do not mix in the slightest. And in a relationship, eventually you're gonna fight over something. It's inevitable. And these conflicting responses are just going to compound the issue to the point where they get crushed under the weight of animosity to each other over something they can't even remember anymore. And honestly, even if we were to take out the plot, take out that whole thing that they fought over, and the kid turned out alive, they put Toji on a t-shirt, make an alternate universe where nothing ever goes wrong and they just end up together, that shit is still not ending up well. Because, well, first of all, they live in Jujutsu Kaisen. Eventually something's gonna go wrong. But two, any major fight, any major conflict they have in this relationship, it's gonna set this cycle off. It doesn't matter how long it lasts. Like, they're gonna have a honeymoon phase because clearly they like each other in this situation. But eventually, it's all just gonna fall apart because they just can't reconcile this. And it's not like they didn't have resources or anything. They had the best healer in the entire series, and she couldn't heal their relationship. That shit is donezo. Final verdict, toxic breakup, they never talk to each other again.
The person who I would ship with in My Hero Academia would be Bakugo.
Kachan, I couldn't let you die!
The person who I would ship in My Hero Academia would have to be Deku.
Oh, Deku, not again!
Bakugo and Deku, the modern age butt brothers. Deku Baku, Baku Deku. You may know about Naruto and Sasuke. You may know about Gojo and Geto. You may know about any number of these types of parents. But you've seen Bakugo and Deku. I don't care who you are. You've seen it before. If all the shonen boy relationships are what we call Fujo bait, baiting them into shipping them together, then these two boys are a full 5-course meal with a complimentary bottle of champagne served seaside at Turks and Caicos. It's just how they're drawn, how they're written, how they're hard-coded. Everything about them is a cognito hazard level threat to anyone with a certain affliction. But again, we're not here for that. And we're not gonna acknowledge that most of what they got going on there, to be honest, with all those AUs and Omega 55s and shit. That's not what we're going right now. This is a scholarly pursuit, so let's lay down the facts. What this is can actually easily be explained with straight people, surprisingly enough. So just imagine a random nerdy guy. He's pining for the most popular girl in the school. He's been thinking on it. Everybody knows it's not going to happen, and the girl calls him lame for it. And that whole thing is basically Bakugo and Deku's relationship from like elementary school all the way up until they get into UA. But then One For All happens, and that's his whole beat a chick moment, but Deku's too soft for that. As we can see, he's still in love with the image of Bakugo he has in his head, which is clearly not reality, but he's too delulu. He's not listening to anybody. And that's how it starts, but as the story goes on, Deku starts seeing Bakugo as like a normal fucking person because they can see each other on even ground. And by the time Bakugo hypothetically would go like, oh, wait a second, I want to date this person, it's a little late. Deku's already done with the whole Bakugo glaze shtick. Even more so the end of the series because, well, spoiler alert, he loses his powers. And now it's a role reversal because Bakugo is now the one, like, literally crying on the ground because he can't compete with Deku, which is normally only a normal amount of suspect, but for the purposes of this exercise, it is supremely suspect. Now they get together, but now Deku's just thinking the whole time, like, wow, I really thought this guy was the coolest guy ever. He's just a normal fucking guy. He's completely disillusioned with what's going on here. And of course, he's still a really nice guy, so he's gonna be like, no. He's a human. But like, whole time, in his subconscious mind, he's going like, oh, well, I didn't know he couldn't cook. That's lame. I didn't know he can't tie his shoes. That's lame. I didn't know he's getting paid less than me. That's kind of lame. Like, it's one of those things where you just inexplicably get the ick from somebody just doing normal people things, and you were like, oh, shit. Whole time, Bakugo's completely unaware because he's still kind of emotionally stunted, and he's the one that's like, oh, yes, finally. So he's not thinking about any of this shit. What I see happening is kind of a drawn-out breakup period after a honeymoon phase where one of them wants to break up and is trying to do it, but they're too nice to actually do it straight up. So they're just kind of putting it off, while the other one is just kind of like, oh, I'm so in love. And Deku just being like, man, it's good to be in love. And that just goes on for, maybe it goes on for years. Eventually it ends, but it ends way too late, and everybody else is just kind of like, oh my god, finally. But I don't think it ends up nearly as bad as our previous couple over there. You know, because they still respect each other deeply on like a comrade level, but it's just they're not meant to be romantically, that's all. At least long term. A short term fling and a medium term relationship is fine, but I just don't see it going all the way. So final verdict, they basically end up as the high school sweethearts who never got married. But they still meet up like once or twice a year, so that's something. So what do we learn from this entire exercise? Well, if I had to be brutally honest with you, not much. We have one positive, one negative, and one neutral result. If we average all this out, that amounts to absolutely nothing. So from the evidence we've gathered today, it is impossible to verify whether this methodology is viable long term. Which is honestly infuriating, because they sat through so much fucking research to do this shit, and it turns out, it doesn't matter! You gotta do it again! Yeah, fuck that. See you next week, or next month, or next year, or whatever, I don't care.